My name is Michael Beya. I am the chair of the Young Couples and Families Association. We're a fairly new association here in the parish. We've been around for maybe 14, 15 months, and we've been actively growing. As of yesterday, we do have around 28 to 29 couples in the group, and we are actively growing thanks to the support of everyone in the parish, obviously, Abuna Tony, Abuna Joe, and Abuna Wadia. So we are in a very... I am personally a father of a 16-month boy, and in 9 days maximum, my wife is due with our second kid, a daughter. And I do personally work in the field of technology, mainly on the healthcare side. And as I am seeing all of these rapid advances and exposure to different things, I think it's important that we use our group to extend an invite to all parishioners to be a resource on how to raise kids in the age of technology. So here we have a great kind of combination of panelists where we are covering the spiritual, the biological, physiological, psychological, and technological side of how to raise kids in the age of technology. So I won't delay the panelists further. We're going to start with Abuna Wadia to talk about the spiritual side. Thank you. And after we're done, we will have the opportunity for Q&A and kind of an active discussion with everyone on the panel. We would love to hear your experience, how you guys have raised your kids in this age, what are some tips, tricks, and obviously you have experts. They will introduce themselves, an opportunity to have direct access to them with your concerns. Thank you.
So we're going to do a small prayer. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, amen. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And forgive us our trespasses. We ask you, God, to send your Holy Spirit among us today so we may listen with your ears and see with your eyes and feel with your touch. And let us hear what you want to hear and teach us what you want to teach us, and be with us so we may learn from you what we need to know. Amen. So I didn't know I was going to go first, but I am first now. So we're going to talk about raising children in an era dominated by advanced technology, particularly AI, artificial intelligence. It presents unique challenges and opportunities. We must ensure that our children benefit from these technological advancements while at the same time safeguarding their spiritual and emotional well-being. The access to information is enormous. All of you know that. They can ask questions and get answers. But as we all know, everything that comes through AI needs to be verified because of potential misinformation. While AI can facilitate learning, it also raises concerns regarding social development. Children often learn social norms and etiquette through direct interactions with parents and adults. Spending too much time talking to AI could affect, without a doubt, their social communications. Raising kids in high-tech environment is not forbidding, but teaching balance, responsibility, and awareness. The question is how technology can affect our spiritual lives. Well, it has positive spiritual possibilities as well as challenges. Let's look at the positives first. Our children can explore sacred text moral teachings and holy stories, biography of the saints. They can learn compassion through what's happening in the world, like kids dying from hunger, children living in a war zone. There is also apps that can help children to reflect on their spiritual and emotional well-being, like praying the rosary with other children and listening to Mass. Saint Carlos Acutis, who was a young teenage boy who created a website about his faith and the Eucharistic miracles. As much as we have positive things about AI, we have many challenges as well. First and most important, the loss of inner silence. Constant stimulation leaves little room for quiet reflection. One definition of prayer is a conversation with God, and the conversation must go two ways. We should also be listening because God wants to speak to us. God wants to speak to our hearts, not through the screen and other technology. We do not want to pray through the screen, even though we can sometimes, but it disconnects us from God's presence. Many of the wisest spiritual directors recommend that a place of prayer be set aside as a free technology zone, where God can communicate with us, asking us, "Do you love me?" And where we can respond to Him by saying, "Yes, we love you." So AI cannot provide answers that only God could give in our hearts. So the question is, can AI really help us in our spiritual life? It can if it's used properly, and it's better not to pray through a computer screen like I mentioned, because technology and noise are always so tied together. And for prayer, we need to learn how to practice silence. Excessive screen time will make us lose our inner silence, as I mentioned. It's an overstimulation. So screen time also disconnects us from the present. Screens cannot replace nature's beauty, sunset, sunrise. They cannot replace the true beauty of our world. So, looking at the positive and challenges that I just presented, what are the ways to nurture spiritual health in our kids in this high-tech world? We need to explore those ways. But we as parents and clergy need to show that devices are tools, not masters, and encourage compassion. Talk to our children how words and action can uplift, not harm others on the internet. Introduce days or evenings with no screens. Create a sacred times and sacred places where you and your children can sit down and share bed story times together and reflect outside a tech-free, in a free tech, environment, free tech environment. To be vigilant over their online interactions is also very important. In summary, AI has its uses and benefits, but like every tool, it has its limits. As our Holy Father Pope Leo XIV reminds us, AI requires responsibility and discernment in order to ensure it can be used for the good of all, so that it can benefit all of humanity. May the Most Holy Trinity, through our Holy Mother, the Church, guide us using this tool responsibly and with always greater discernment, so that this tool of ours, which is a man-made servant, will be our servant, not our master. Amen.
Thank you, Abu Nawadia. I want to make sure that we have all the questions ready to be asked at the end of this panel. It is my pleasure to introduce the next panelist, who came all the way from San Diego someone who is one of the not only smartest but nicest people that I know. She is the head of pediatrics at Kaiser Permanente, Dr. Rita Fghali.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. When Michael called me, you know, I've known Michael through my cousin, and we've met a few times. I was honored to come. This is my first time giving this talk in a church. So my talk is, I'm a physician. I've been a pediatrician for 25 years. I give this talk to residents, to medical students, to schools, to parents in the schools in San Diego, but now it's to you guys in a church, which I'm very happy about. Why? I kind of put together a little bit who I am. I'm originally Lebanese. I was born in Lebanon, but never raised in Lebanon. I was raised in France. My husband is Lebanese. We have 2 boys, so we are very much in touch with our Lebanese culture. We are in touch with our church, our San Diego Maronite church. Father was with us for like a couple of months when he first came to the U.S., I think. It's 3 years? Was it 3 years? Okay. I think I was in medical school, so I didn't go to school, to church as much during that time. And we have 2 boys, and I am not here to tell you, you know, to make you feel bad or guilty, because we are all humans. We have had our problems with our boys being on the screen. You can tell from the one with the headsets, this is a little old, you know, those headsets don't exist anymore, and that screen doesn't exist anymore because it's a VCR. If you guys don't know what that is you put a little DVD in it and it plays for you like that, because the planes didn't have TVs at the time. So we've all been there, you know, we all would love to be super parents every day, but we cannot be super parents every day, and some days we will do this, and that's okay. But I'm here to tell you why it's not good to do it every day. And I'm gonna talk more about the biology part, the brain development part. And so, this way. This is why you don't do technology. So, I wanted to just start by saying, as the screen is coming, is the brain. We're talking about what is the effect of AI on the child and its development, and it starts with the brain. Guess what? The brain develops when your baby is inside of you. So when you first conceive that baby is a dot. And then within 7 weeks, a month and a half, almost 2 months, that baby is 1 centimeter. So this is 1 centimeter, okay? And the brain is 70% of that. It's 7 millimeters of your 1 centimeter, okay? That's just the first visual. And the brain is developing inside of a mom and is affected by everything that mom and the environment is happening. So food this mom is taking, is eating, the environment around her, the conversations that this parent is having, and everything. And then at around 20 weeks gestation, that brain is about 60 grams. What is 60 grams? It's this is what a brain weighs, and about the size of a brain when they are born. It's 360 to 390 grams, and it's about the size of a fist, okay? So that is what a brain weighs like, if you guys want to weigh. 60 grams is about a quarter of this. So the brain develops very quickly. And then what happens in the first 2 years, the brain reaches a kilo. This is a kilo. And then by about 5 years of age, the brain reaches almost its adult size. What is its adult size? The size of this. A kilo and about 400 grams is 2 fists. This is actually a real skull. And the brain fits inside. You may think this is very small. This is an adult woman who died when she was 80. Okay, I was awarded this skull when I was a med student because I was the best in anatomy. So it's a real skull, and this is the size of what it fits inside. Okay? So, don't worry. So I wanted to just put it back in a picture. This is how fast the brain develops. By basically 3 years of age, that child's brain, that person's brain, is 80 to 90% developed. And the rest, that 10 to 15%, develops over time until about 19, 20. And look at that nice slide. Around 30, 40, we start losing brain, okay? So I'm 52. I'm on the downhill, okay? So I'm glad I'm doing this talk now, because in 10 years, I probably will forget half of what I'm gonna say. So, your chances in the first 3 to 5 years to basically give that child, we call it the magic window. We have a name for it because that's how we make money in medicine, is we call things things, okay, and we do research on it. The magic window. The vocabulary, there were many studies done, and I'm just gonna present studies, but I wanna make it fun so that you kind of remember these studies, so that you remember why we're saying this, why did Abuna say AI is good, but, you know, kind of thing, and why Laura will say AI is good, but, is basically, there are studies that were done in the world, and mostly Japan, Australia, and the United States, and Canada, that the vocabulary at age 2 is directly linked to the number of words a child hears their parents say. Very, very important, because you're going to see the next study that I'm going to present that's going to show you that hearing words from an AI, the child may know the word, but may not know how to use them, will not know how to put them in context. So a word is a word that is an important word if you know how to use that word, and if you know when to use that word, and with what conjunction and what sentence. And so that study showed that if a parent talks to their kid, that kid is gonna learn that word and learn how to use that word. And then vocabulary at age 2 is predictive of your first grade academic performance. First grade, but you know what? It's the foundation. First grade comes second grade, then, you know, high school, then college. And if you start with a bad foundation, you're gonna get to a bad structure at the end. The development is very development happens not just with language, but also with motor skills. And AI is detrimental to motor skills. There's 2 types of motor skills. There's gross motor, meaning walking, you know, climbing, jumping, and there's fine motor, holding a pen, you know, drawing, pincher grasping, and all of that develops in a succession, meaning every child will do the same thing. They'll roll, then they'll sit, then they'll crawl, then they'll walk, then they'll balance, then they'll jump, and then it's very similar to pincher. And this is the way the brain develops. It develops from the from the back, and the back is basically what you use to have basic life: breathing, keeping your temperature, staying alive. Then it goes to the middle, and that's kind of like more your talking, your motor especially, and then it goes to the front. And the frontal lobe is the most important for what we call social interaction, emotional the evolution that we've evolved to become people in a society. That socio-emotional kind of check is the front. And this is why, for example, when you have football players that hit and have the traumatic brain injury, and it's mostly in the front that they're hitting, they lose that. They lose that, and they don't know how to interact in society anymore. They lose a lot of that. It's that frontal lobe. And so how can screen impact development, you're saying? Basically, we have other words to make money. Brexting. What is brexting? Breastfeeding and texting. If a mom is breastfeeding and texting at the same time, where is her attention? That attention is on the phone, and that baby is eating, versus if a mom has her phone away and is breastfeeding, is like, Habibi, how are you? You're hurting me. Kind of thing. It kind of helps, and you're interacting, and you have that voice, and you're kind of going about it. Background TV. sitting at dinner and having the background TV on and everybody's attention is on the football game that's going over there, you know, kind of thing, what's going to happen? There's no interaction. Versus turning that TV off, having a family dinner, you know, and I'll be the first to tell you, I can't have it every night. I work 2 24-hour shifts a week, so we've decided as a family we'll have it 3 nights a week. Okay, we've picked our 3 nights, and those are our family nights. We turn everything off, and we sit, and we're like, okay, Jimmy, شو صار معك اليوم? What happened? And of course, the kid's gonna say, no, I don't remember, I don't know. And you gotta engage, and you gotta engage, and you gotta talk. Okay, you know what? Well, you know what happened with me? I saw this patient, and then it kind of brings conversation. So background TV is a terrible thing, and then technoference. What's technoference? Is everything that is interfering from technology. You know, when you take your kid to the park and the kid is running around and you're like, I spent 2 hours at the park, and then you happen to be texting your friends or you happen to be running your meeting on the computer, this is technoference. You really didn't run around with your kid and play with them at the park. You kind of ran your meeting and were on your phone and didn't focus on the kid. And like I said, I'm not here to judge anybody. I've done it and I continue to do it because life goes on. But once in a while, keep that electronic away is very important. So, more data. When the TV is on, adult conversation falls. Why do I say that? Is it because it just happened in my house? No. That's because there was other studies done by Hart and Risley that showed that they did a longitudinal study with kids aged 2, 3, 5, and 6. They followed the same kids. And they said if the TV is on in the backgrounds during meals, the drop in verbal IQ, okay, by kinder. That kid in kinder does not talk as much as the kid that didn't have the background TV, okay? American kids, and why do I say Americans? Because these are, compared to European studies, they compare to Middle Eastern studies. We in Lebanon don't have that as much, or other countries in the Middle East. In France, we don't have, I grew up in France. We don't have the TV on. When I grew up, there were 3 channels and they stopped at 9 p.m. Now it's 24/7 and there's a billion channels and you can stream everything, you know, kind of thing. So American kids exposed to an average of 232 minutes. That's about 4 hours of background TV a day. A day, I forgot to put that here. And TV, that, like I said, does not teach language like live people do. If I tell my kid something, it is very different than the mom on TV telling her kid on TV. My kid is not gonna get that association as much. And so background TV is distracting, not just for the kid, but for us adults, because we kind of want to watch it too, you know? And then and this is a big study done actually in Japan that focused on kids by 36 months of age. And they actually, in Japan, they can do that because in America we have to be more aware. They actually divided the families rich, average, poor. And they realized rich families had maybe more time with their kids, and had maybe more education, so they actually had more words, and the kid, by 36 months, had more words. The parents had about 2,100 words, the kid had 1,100. Average class family, they work a little more, they have, 1,400, and the kid had 750. Poor families, low socioeconomic, they don't spend as, it was mostly farmers in that study. They were spending their days, 16 hours farming, no talking. The parent had about 970 words. The kid at 36 months had 525 words. Almost a double less, half of what a more wealthy kid was in Japan, okay, in that study. So besides, and then this is another summary. 30 minutes of screen per day was associated with 2.3 times increase in expressive language delay. What's expressive language? Me talking. So maybe the kid will understand but won't know how to say it, just because they were glued on that TV and they are not engaged at talking back, giving back a conversation, kind of with that family. And a very old study when TV was minimal, and it was done in 1960s, girls had were more affected than boys. Why? Girls tend to have better attention span when they're little. Boys are more rowdy, they'll run around, they'll come and they'll annoy the mom who's trying to cook or the dad who's trying to, do something, and you'll be like, go away, go back on your TV, versus the girl is just sitting like that, kind of thing. And so girls had much more effect of that TV exposure because they were sort of glued on that TV a little more. And then that give and take. And I think Abuna was talking about it a little bit. The AI can't give and take. When you talk to God, you want him to give back, and you want to listen. You want to listen to that empty noise that you hope is giving you back. Same thing with a family. This is how a child gives and takes. But on an AI, they don't know what, nothing gives. They're taking, but they're not giving back. And that's the problem. And then we talked about fine motor. Again, Japan, lots of studies come out of there. 7,000 kids were followed. 4 hours of screen time had 74% higher risk of delays at 2 years of age. They don't know how to hold a pen. They don't know how to draw. Japan is very big on calligraphy, but we are too. And this is a big problem in our schools. Kids know how to swipe. Kids know how to drag. Kids don't know how to write. And kids know how to punch, but they don't know how to write anymore. And it is very important that we, as parents, talk to our schools, talk to our educators and say, what are you doing? Is this the right school for my kid? Because not every school is the right school. Some schools, the teacher want to do it easy. Here's your iPad, kid, go away. Versus spending the time doing that fine motor, learning how to hold a pen. That's very important for later. We may think the pen and the paper is gone. It is never gone. It is very important. Art, drawing, that's very important. Colors. And then cognitive. We talked a little bit about the frontal lobe. AI doesn't teach you how to wait, how to filter, how to learn patience, how to problem solve. AI is like, I know, Mike, for example, when I used to be a kid and I was in my dad's car and we would play games about words that start with the letter P, and then we couldn't remember an animal that starts with the letter P. It's like we had to wait. Or I would ask, Dad, what does this word mean? He's like, I don't know, let's go back home and wait and look at the encyclopedia. We used to have like an encyclopedia or a dictionary. Now it's like, Mom, look at your phone. Tell us. Mom, tell us. And then teenagers have their own phone, so they're researching it anyway. They don't know how to wait anymore. And little kids, when they are taught how to wait, is important, because when they are not taught how to wait, what happens? Oh my God, you get the temper tantrum, and you get the slashing and hitting my head and stopping to breathe because I'm breath holding, because I'm mad at you, Mom, for making me wait for the answer. And they don't know how to wait, and that is a huge problem. And overstimulation, the screen, and they're like, oh, this is a boring episode. They don't know how to watch a boring something. Because it's boring, they move on. They will just like, this is a silly cartoon, let me go to the next one. Versus, I had to sit through silly cartoons as a kid and say, this is boring, but I gotta wait because Dada Motus is coming at 2:30, kind of thing. So, that is extremely important. Socio-emotional, we talked a little bit right now about it. The big one that I want to point is that third thing. Screen promotes dopamine. So screen actually has been shown to increase dopamine level. What is dopamine? Dopamine is like norepinephrine. What is norepinephrine? It's the happy hormone in the brain. Happy hormone. When I snort cocaine, happy hormone, kind of thing. Dopamine, epinephrine. So we get that, and it's pleasant, it's happy. And so when that screen is taken away, the dopamine is high. What does a drug addict do? They get mad, they get angry, they want the drug. The drug is the AI, the drug is the computer. That's where we are. That's been shown in studies, again through Japan. Thank God for the Japanese. Sleep. Terrible to have the screen on at night. Because what happens is dopamine, happy, energy. Then give me your screen. Good night. Bye-bye. No, my brain is active. I want to stay on, So also, the light from the screen, called the blue light, it suppresses melatonin. Melatonin is the hormone that the brain releases to help regulate sleep. And screen light mimics morning light. So basically that blue light in the morning that wakes you up, that's what the screen. So it makes you not just the dopamine, but also you have the light that's flashing in your eye that's telling you, stay awake, and you have less melatonin. So it's a huge vicious cycle. And then you disrupt your circadian rhythm. So those kids sleep poorly, wake up, and they're already mad because they didn't sleep poorly. They slept poorly, they didn't sleep well. So also affects, I don't have a slide on it, vision, you know, because you're having that flashing all the time. You also, it's not as much the flashing as the going outside less. It has been shown in studies that children need to go in the sunlight for at least an hour to 2 hours a day to help the vitamin A and the rods and the cones in the eyes. And if they're not outside, they're on their screen, you don't get the rod and cone formation so that you actually end up needing the glasses that I'm wearing. And learning. Can you learn from screens? Abuna went over it. Yes, you can learn from screens, but what are you learning? You learn what the screen is teaching you, but you're not learning the actual meaning behind it. You're not learning the actual interaction. You're not being taught. So you need hands-on and social interaction to learn. It only works if the parent is reteaching it. A child can watch a TV episode and then the parents can reteach that or emphasize certain things. So if a parent is watching that episode with them, they can actually teach it at the same time. And I'm going to go a little fast because I went through, how do books differ? Again, parents are reading that book, they're touching, they're hearing, they're seeing, their emotions in the parent's voice when they're reading it. So reading the Bible story is much better than hearing it through an AI screen. And then I just want to touch very briefly on this thing called virtual autism. People are always asking me, autism is increasing. And I'm like, yeah, it has. You know, when I trained 25 years ago, hi, Habibi. Autism, I would see like, I could count it on one hand. Now, every other kid seems autistic. Why? Because we're actually calling a lot of those kids that are throwing tantrums and flashing and not talking at 2 autistic when they've not been given the chance because of potentially the environment they're having. So there's, and again, studies by Romanian now. And then this outburst anger, we talked about it. I'm sure Michael can share the slide. So what do we recommend? Under 18 months, 0 screens, if you can. Between 18 to 24 months, 30 minutes a day, preferably if the parent is there. Between 2 to 5 years age, 1 hour maximum a day. And then after 5, it's something you decide together. If you are a family, the father and the mother, or the parents, the 2 parents need to be in agreement. You can't have the dad give it for 2 hours and the mom take it only for, you know, for half an hour or vice versa. It's an agreement, you kind of come together. And then last but not least, it was the last slide, I guess. It said co-viewing is the most important. So viewing it together, sitting together on it is the most important. And then slowing it down, patience, taking away the screen, and then really trying some screen-free days, traveling, going outside, going hiking for 3 to 6 hours where there's no internet. You also keeping your phone away is a big one, because I know my son gets upset when I have my phone on all the time. I'm like, but I'm the chief of the department, you know? He doesn't care. He wants my attention to be 100% on him, and he gets frustrated when it isn't. So, and he's 16 and it's still the same, you know? So they understand, but they also want our attention, and our attention can be techno-friends by the phone if we have it on us all the time. Thank you. That was it. Oh.
Can you stop it at slide 9 again?
Slide 9.
Yeah.
Oh, this one. I'm on the wrong one.
Was that slide 9 or motor skills? Yes.
The more.
All right, thank you.
We will make sure to share the slides with whoever's interested. Thank you, Dr. Rita. I think now, as we know what's going on inside the body, now it's a time for us to start to understand how does this translate into behavior, right? Because a lot of the effects of the hormones, the brain development is also shown in our behavior. And we are honored with not only the parish, but more specifically in the Young Couples and Families Association, that one of our members is actually is an expert when it comes to child development and has a lot of credentials. She'll make sure to tell you about those herself. But it is my pleasure to introduce Laure Haj Khoure to be our next panelist. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. I'm going to be maybe repeating and talking about the same topics that Dr. Rita was talking about, because behavior is a reflection of brain development. So she was talking about brain developing. I'll be talking mainly about the same topics. Yeah. So I'm Laure. I'm a mother of a son. He's 4.5. Maybe some of you know me here. I teach Arabic after the Mass. I have 2 diplomas for teaching kids, ECE and basic education. So I will be talking about behavior today and brain development through the behavior. So raising kids in the age of technology. Technology is part of our daily lives, and we live in a time where a toddler knows how to swipe more than know how to speak. But for young children whose brain is developing, constant exposure can shape their way of thinking, behaving, and even connect emotionally. Between birth and age of 5, 0 to 5, a child's brain develops faster than any other stage, as Dr. Rita was talking about. These are the years when social skills, language, empathy, and attention form. When screen replaces face-to-face interaction, children may show delayed speech, lower emotional awareness, shorter attention span, and even increased anxiety and hypertension. The reason, we ask why this is happening. The reason is because the brain learns best through human connection, interaction with us, instead of the children is sitting and watching TV. It's talking to us, play with us, sit on the floor with the kid, and try to ask him about his day, what happened at the school, what happened with his friend. So he learns through human connection, through our tone, our voice, eye contact, and touching the toys and touching everything. Impact on early brain development. So, as I said before, behavior is a reflection of brain development. And we're talking about brain development as well as Dr. Rita, because psychology and behavior don't happen randomly. They come from how the brain is wired in the early years, 0 to 5 years old. So we're going to talk about psychological impact on early screen overuse, delayed speech and communication. We talk about language. Young children learn language by reading faces, our faces, and hearing natural speech, our talking to them, not from electronic devices and AI. Excessive screen time is strongly linked to fewer words spoken at early stages, slow language development for kids, and difficulty expressing needs. If the kid doesn't know how to express himself, this will lead him to be frustrated and tantrum. Difficulty reading emotions. When children don't see human faces enough, the brain becomes weaker at understanding emotion. He cannot understand our emotion. He will have trouble making some friends, and he will be misreading others' feelings while he's playing with other friends, while he's sharing his toys, while he's talking to our maybe relatives. So he will be having some difficulty understanding our emotion and our talking to him. I said him because I have a son to the kids. Emotional dysregulation. This is the most important point, and we're going to be seeing this on all the other slides coming now. So screens gives rapid stimulation, bright colors, and instant rewards. Our real life is slower. We don't have instant reward. Our real life is really slow. So the brain of the kid becomes conditioned to expect instant rewards. So children exposed early may struggle with waiting. They don't have patience. Self-soothing. If they are crying, they keep crying. They cannot soothe themselves. They don't know how to do it. And calming down without a device. If he's crying, we give him the screen, we give him the tablet. Stop crying, you can watch. We're not teaching him how to self-soothe, how to be patient. If someone is talking, he will interrupt, because this is happening through his watching on the device and getting instant rewards all the time. This is why many toddlers, and we see this, and my son was doing this before, he will have extreme meltdowns when we take the device from him, when we turn off the tablet, when we take our phone. These are not bad behaviors from our child. Their nervous system has been overstimulated. That's why he becomes frustrated. That's why he keeps asking about, can I watch? Can I get your phone? Sometimes I tell him my phone is on the charger, and he was like, can I watch while the phone is charging? So he keeps trying, and convince me to give him the tablet. So the signs of children with nervous system, when it's overstimulating, he will be melting down, he will be screaming, he will be crying. We have to know how to let him self-soothe. We can use like corner, we can ask him to go to his bedroom. Whenever he feels back, he can come back and talk to us. We can use many ways, but never ever to give him the screen again just because he's crying. We should tell our kids, crying is not gonna change anything. Even if you cry, you're not gonna take my phone back, you're not gonna have the tablet. Because if once this happens, he knows next time, I'll give her a hard time, I'll be crying for hours, and then she will give me, I will give up and I will give the kid the tablet. So the best thing is to keep our word, and whenever he is like, keep trying to take it from us, we keep giving, like, sometimes in the car, if we're going on a long trip or a road trip, he was like, can I watch? And Nick, let's play a game. Let's do some jokes about animals, about trees, about what we're seeing around, but we never give him back the tablet, because as Dr. Rita said, we are all human, we are all having some mistakes, we are all having some bad days, and we give them to watch maybe for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and then they will say, oh, she let me watch, let me ask again. So we keep trying many ways, Nick and I, to, it's gonna take a lot of time and a lot of patience from us as well, to sit down, to talk to them, to play. We're gonna talk about this later, what can we do to minimize the screen time. So let's talk about the behavioral impact. Shorter attention span, fast-paced video, condition the brain to expect constant movement, quick changes, high dopamine hits. And this results in trouble focusing, difficulty staying in one activity, they move from one to another, they feel bored easily, jumping quickly from one toy to another. Now I'm playing with this, I'm feeling bored, what can I do, where are we going now, what are you gonna give me another toy? Even in a big a room of toys, they are still bored, and they are still asking for more and more and more. Increased tantrum and irritability. When the brain is overstimulated, children become more reactive, less patient, easier to overwhelm, quicker to melt down. Sleep disruption. Blue light delays melatonin. Poor sleep then causes moodiness. They will become very moody. They don't know what they want. Hyperactivity. They will be really hyper. Everything can overstimulate them. Difficulty to talking to them or even to communicate, and poor behavior every single time. Dependence on external stimulation. Children start craving constant entertainment. They feel bored easily because their brain is not used to slow down. This might weaken creativity, problem solving, independent play skills. And the day we decided to limit the screen timing, you will be really surprised with the creativity that the kid will be doing, because he doesn't have the screen. He has to create something to do, even with the blocks, even with drawing. He will become more creative, and he will be like really happy with what he's doing in a slow pace, not like the video and not like watching on TV. So this is a recap on what I was really saying. When screen replaces real interaction, the brain builds pathway overstimulation instead of attention, frustration instead of patience, and dependence on digital reward instead of emotional regulation. So brain development help parents to understand the why and not the what. Here we're gonna see 4 different pictures. The first one is the whole family sitting, having dinner, and every single member of this family is using the phone. There's no talk, there's no communication, there's no question. Everyone is using the phone. And we see this happens in our daily life today. The second one is the parents frustrated, waiting for their son to finish watching so they can eat. Same as the third picture. But when I want to talk about the last picture, which I don't let my daughter have any screen time at all. This is not the objective, and this is not what we want to do. We want to limit the time, but we cannot just do it and say, my children are not watching at all. Because as I said before, some days the kids have ups and downs. We have some days good, some days, like not every day is a good day. Sometimes we have emergencies and we let them watch. But the thing is to limit the time and to know what our children are watching. What parents can do. As I said, limit screen time by playing together, read a book, telling a story, emotional regulation tips, and this is really, really helpful tool. Whenever you want to talk to your children, first, just get down to your child's eye level. They feel more safe, they feel heard, and they will be willing to listen. This helps them to just, when you go down to their level, this helps them a lot. We can second use countdown timer. So when we use a countdown, you can have it an app on your phone, and every phone has a countdown timer. This helps kids prepare for screen time ending, reduce frustration, helps them transition more calmly, and helps them adjust emotionally and easing to transition without meltdown. Whenever we tell them, you still have another 5 minutes and I will take my phone. You're gonna have 2 more minutes and this is done. And encourage real play, walk, go in nature, outdoor play, using blocks, using color. We can do a lot of play with the kids instead of watching TV or staying on the screen. Raising stronger thinker is the objective. We should believe about the power of books and language. Early language exposure physically shapes the brain. Therefore, books remains one of the most powerful tools for helping the kids' capacity. Books expand language, giving word, vocabulary, imagination, allowing kids to express themselves, and more with self-confidence. These skills that screen alone cannot provide. How we do it, how we teach them, fueling language and brain growth, we do it through human connection. We tell stories, we sit to them, we read book together, we encourage them to learn more vocabulary and how to use it, and and we can correct them in a really nice way when they talk to us and help them express themselves in a confidence. Online safety and trust. Here we have to build a really trust relationship with our kids. They have to feel safe, they have to feel confident to talk to us about any topic. They have to feel like there will be no judgment, they will be just parents can sit and talk to their kids about any subject. This isn't just about safety, it's about shaping healthy social and emotional behavior for our kids. Whenever they trust us, whatever they see ads pop on, any harmful contact that they see on their tablets, they will feel safe to come and talk to us about it. And whenever we talk to them and we can discuss and express what's happening, this gives the kids the safety, and they feel really safe to talk to us. I have an idea that I keep talking to Chris. It can be a picture in his bedroom. It can be a pillow with picture, just for him to know that he can say, I'm enough, I'm brave, I'm loved, I'm strong, I'm grateful, I'm unique, and goes on. Give him the self-confidence and the safety, because we don't know what he's gonna watch on his tablet. They have ads, Nick will talk about that really more later, but whenever someone is bullying our kids at school or on a coffee shop or any place we go to, they have self-confidence first about themselves, and second to come and talk to us and express what happened to them. This is the last slide. We're going to talk about healthy alternatives and recommendation. Children don't need constant digital stimulation. They need connection, movement, and imagination. Here are better ways to support their development in our tech world. As Dr. Rita said before, turn off background TV. If you're cooking with them, if you're having dinner, if you're playing, just turn off the background TV. Keep devices outside of their bedrooms. No TV in the bedroom, no TV before bedtime, no TV when we wake up. We can set some boundaries and we can set some limit, at least not to have the device in their bedroom or as background all day in our houses. We can do sensory play. They can use sand, they can use water. This stimulates creativity and calms the nervous system. We can watch or play together. We can go in a walk. And last but not least, kids mirror our habits. We lead by examples, and they learn by observing us. So whenever we're with our kids, please let us try to put our phone down, have dinner with them, cook with them, play with them, without consistently us checking our phones and watching, because as I said, they learn by observing, and they will say, you're watching, why I cannot watch? You're using the phone, why I cannot use it? The goal isn't perfection. We are all humans, and we all have some good and bad days. It's about our presence. What they need, all they need, it's our presence. When we show children that connection beats consumption, they grow emotionally resilient, ready to use technology, not to be used by it. Technology is here to stay, but childhood is short. Thank you.
Thank you, Lord. So now, when we understand all the impacts of technology, now we have to be real. It's part of us. I think every single one of us has a phone. Every single one of us has screens at home. We have access to different technologies, right? With with the iPad. What are some best practices on, how to manage the technology with our kids? No one is better to talk about this than another member of the Young Couples and Families Association, who is a technology expert, Nick Khouri.
think it's good. Hi, everybody. So I'm a technologist. I've been working as a technologist for 20 plus years. Happy to be here today. Historically speaking, oh, Ali Sauti? Okay. So I'm not here to judge. We all do our good and bad things with technologies. I'm here to raise awareness. So hopefully this will be good for you. Historically speaking, every invention and technology was created for the better good. But almost every single one of these was also misused. Think about electricity. It was created for the lights, for the machines, but people learned that they can electrocute each other with electricity and misused it. Think about cars. It was invented for transportation, and then some people realized they can just run over other people. So when we talk about today's technologies, it's no different. And it's not going to stop now. It's evolving, and we got to adapt and learn how to protect ourselves and each other from technology. So today, when we hold a cell phone, it's a lot different from the cell phone that we held 20 years ago. 20 years ago, it had like 3 things that you could do with a phone. You can call, text, or play Snake. Today, you can do everything with a phone. You can transfer money, you can buy a house, sell your car, you can control your smart home, summon your smart car, and a lot more. So your phone has a lot of power on it. If you think about privacy, so I bet if I have access to an unlocked phone, any of you, I can steal your identity within 24 hours. I can create bank accounts, get credit cards under your name and use them. I can probably blackmail you too. Also, most of us, at least me, I have work-related stuff. So my employer, I have my email on here. So when you give this unlocked phone to a child, you're giving them too much power. And you're not aware about the consequences of these powers if misused. Now, the child intentionally, they don't want to cause harms to their parents. They love them. But there are two ways on how technology can be misused. One is malicious. I mean, they created the internet for the world to communicate, but then there's cyber criminals who will try to do their best to, destroy people's lives. They want to steal your bank accounts, etc. The child, when they do something with your phone, it's just lack of awareness. They don't know that whatever they're doing is bad or it has consequences. So that's the other type of misuse. So when you give them your phone, just think twice about the limitless number of ways on what can go wrong when you give them your unlocked phone. So of course the recommendation is if you want to give them a device, make sure it's their device and you have full control over it. Do not let them use the device that can also impact or control your life. So that's one. Now, if you talk about, let's say, technologies, today's technologies, mostly it's social media, smartphones, AI, gaming, web content. If I want to go and start talking about every single bad thing about these technologies, I'll spend the next 2 weeks talking about it. But just think about a few topics such as cyberbullying. Think about the harmful contents that your children can use, and think about what these platforms or technologies can be used for. For example, weapons of war is a very serious thing. So they've toppled governments. They've removed presidents without deploying a single soldier. It was all through social media campaigns. This is how powerful this is. So this is the new weapon, or at least in some countries. They use it to, for propaganda, as in coordinated disinformation campaigns. And it has cascade effects. Today, when someone sees a story or news on the internet, they don't stop, think, and validate. They just forward or share. And we should do a better job at teaching our children not to do this. If they see a piece of information on the web, they need to think before they act or react to that piece of information, because there is a lot of misinformation out there. Now, just talking about what can go wrong when you give your child a device, this is an example of a child ordering 70,000 lollipops from Amazon, and his mother knew about this. So these don't make it to the news because Amazon doesn't want anyone to know about this, nor how it happened. They want to, they want to remove it from the news so people don't know about these risks, but these happen every day. So who from you have social media accounts? Yes. So all of you. Yes. So what is the first thing that you do when you wake up? Check your phone, right? And I believe that's the answer that everyone's going to do consistently, right? So today, we all use social media and we share a lot on social media, and we think that, oh, they have a privacy page on my app, so if I went in and checked this box, then, I'm good. No one's going to know anything about me. That's a myth. That's wrong. Social media companies and all the digital companies today, they know more about you than anyone else. They know the size of your shirt, they know what you like, they know how you interact and behave when you see something on TikTok or Facebook or whatever it is. They know what you shop for, whether it's private or not. So they know more about you than you know about yourself. Then everyone you know collectively, they wouldn't know more about what social media companies know about you. So today, if they want to please you, they know exactly what they have to show you, right? And we're adults, we are aware that this is happening, and yet we give in. So let alone a child. So when children and their teenagers, maybe they have social media accounts, they don't have the level of awareness that we do. They don't have the immunity that we do. So let's think about that more. Now, with the introduction of AI, they had too much information about you. But now, when you combine this with AI, it's not only addiction, it's, I mentioned here, it's a social super weapon. Because with all this data and AI, they can control pretty much your life. And when I talk about these, I'm not here to scare you. I'm just, again, raising awareness. So, for example, you've probably all heard about Roblox, the gaming platform. For those of you who didn't, this is just a screenshot about how many kids have committed suicide because of Roblox. So what I'm saying is, what I'm talking about is not a theory, it's not an idea, I'm not trying to make things up. This is happening, and the numbers are alarming. Like what you're seeing here, this is reality, this is the new reality, and what we have to do as parents, just try to protect our children from becoming the next victim. And as I mentioned earlier, today's challenge could be a smart device and AI, but tomorrow it could be autonomous robots or something we haven't thought about yet. So let's talk about solutions. It's all bad news, but you know, technology is invented for the better good, right? So one, try to prevent the misuse of technology at your home. To prevent it, you can, as everyone mentioned previously, you can limit the screen time. That's the first line of defense. You know, historically, like our dad, he would protect our house by locking the door. This was the physical perimeter. Today, that's not the case anymore. If you lock the door, your children, their lives, they're still vulnerable. So locking the door is not enough. You got to do a little bit more. You got to just keep up with technology. So only allow children to use approved apps on their devices. What we do is we have a device for our son. It's only for him, but we know exactly which apps are installed. We control I control it from my phone. I control the screen time. For example, he can only use these apps for a limited number of time, 30 minutes max. And you don't have to invent this. There are technologies that would help you achieve this goal. So use technology, control their daily screen time. You can also control which TV shows they can watch, and you can control advertisements. So advertisement is a big red flag. No matter what you have to do, you have to make sure you block advertisements. So today, we all tell our children, do not talk to strangers. This person looks sketchy, don't hang out with them. Don't let anyone talk to you in private. But this is all physical. When we talk about, you know, the digital world, this can still happen through an advertisement. So just remember that. You don't allow random strangers to come and talk to your child. Neither should you allow a random online predator to communicate and deliver potentially harmful messages to your child either. For social media, maybe this is too late for some of you, but it's recommended to only allow children that are 14 plus years old to start using social media. That would give us enough leeway to build self-confidence, build some level of awareness, and be immune. And also enforce the use of technology in shared spaces. Don't let your kid go sit in their bed and use a device by themselves. You have no idea what they're seeing. You have no idea. So make a rule, it can only be used in shared spaces. The next thing that you can do is detect. So, and that can be done only through communication. They all talked about encouraging open communication between you and your child. So you should get your child to openly trust you and be able to come forward with anything that they have to say. It should be in no judgment zone whatsoever. Otherwise, they're going to be scared of you and they will keep everything to themselves. You'll be completely disconnected from your child. Ours, for example, he opens up during bedtime and then he'll just spit out everything. It's around bedtime, that's when he does it. As far as awareness, today we tell our kids, yeah, don't wipe your hands with your shirt, or that's not nice, don't behave like that. We should be also talking about the digital world with them. For example, what they can share or not share online. We can't expect them just to know this by themselves. Who can you talk with? Can you just randomly talk with people you don't know on the internet? Maybe not. Our job is just to raise awareness. Second, raise awareness that not everything that they see online is real. There's a lot of deep fakes. If I posted my picture, someone can, within 2 hours, create a video of me destroying a car. That's totally doable with today's technologies. So let's talk more about some details, like what can you do today? So controlling screen time can be achieved If you have an Android or iPhone, you can set a screen time control in these devices. As I said earlier, it's preferred to have a dedicated device to your child. We have an Amazon Fire tablet. It's very affordable, maybe 60 or 70 bucks. And you can have an annual plan for another 60 and 70 bucks. It's very inexpensive for what it does and the control that it has for this purpose, really. I'm not trying to market Amazon. It happens that this is what we use. Pretty sure there are other technologies that you can use too. You can also control exactly which websites are blacklisted in your whole house. Like if they're trying to access any harmful contents, and again, by mistake, they don't have the awareness, it is blocked. It is blocked at the router and Wi-Fi level, so it's not even an option neither for you nor for your children. And I mentioned here some examples like meetcircle.com or bark.us. These are technologies that you can either buy or subscribe to. Alternatively, the safest way is to download offline contents, and before you give your child the device, just turn off the Wi-Fi. That way, you know there's no way they're going to get to the internet. So we talked about the bad stuff about technology. The good part is you should also encourage the good use of tech. There's a lot of creative tools that would allow them maybe to compose music. It would allow them to learn how to code or maybe build AI themselves. There are tools or toys that they can use to build electronic circuits, just if they're into these kind of stuff. So there are healthy ways on how to encourage the use of tech. Audiobooks, and definitely encouraging video calls with families and friends. These fall under the social skills category. And this is what I have for you. If you are technically challenged or need any help, feel free to reach out to Mike. Happy to talk to you and help you out. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you all for joining us. I want to first of all thank the panelists for their time and their expertise today. I think we had a variety of content and contributions. I want to thank you guys for attending and expressing interest into this. And last but not least, I want to thank specific people. Obviously, Abuna Tony for encouraging the Young Couples and Families Association to be able to host events like this. I want to thank Iman Ahwaji, the head of the event steering committee, for her support, and obviously the kitchen committee that were providing food today. And again, thanks to every single one of the panelists. We'll open it up for questions. Does anyone have anything they want to share or ask the panelists? Yeah.
I was wondering, what about the physiological impact on the body, like the electronics? Is there such a thing?
I can definitely talk about that. So basically, when you are on an iPad, when you're on a tablet, you're not moving. So the physiologic impact is the morbid obesity we are seeing tons of. That's part of it. The lack of dexterity, the lack of being able to play collaboratively in sports because you don't know how to interact with other kids. So obesity, is that what you're talking about?
No? I mean the electronics, the actual electronics in your system, that if I have my phone close to me or to my brain.
So this is a very interesting question and dilemma. There has really been no studies that have tested per se if that increases the risk of cancer, for example, having your phone so close to your ear all the time, or having the Bluetooth in your ear, or the little thingy in your ear. sleeping next to it. I agree. What has been definitely proven is there's certain areas that have these big, like old telephone poles that, like in Lancaster, in Los Angeles, there was an increased risk of cancer in that community. And they actually noticed that the homes around one of those big electric poles that they had definitely had an increased risk of cancer. And so that has been part of it. But in terms of actually studying the phone, if that increases, it has not been proven. There's anecdotes, but really not more than, you can't statistically say that the phone has increased the risk of brain cancer or any of that, unfortunately. Yeah. Why not? I think the studies are very hard to do.
Dr. Rita, thank you for coming from San Diego. I have a couple of questions. We have teenagers, and that's the most difficult things to convince them how harmful it is to be addicted to cell phone or whatever social media. Now, I find out like most of your reference are coming from Japan and Romania. Is it by choice?
So no, Japan is actually one of the most regulated research. The US has very good research, a lot of it as research. A lot of the studies were done there, I think, because have you been to Japan?
No, I never
No,
been to
so
Japan.
I've been. My favorite pictures going there was taking pictures of these robots walking down the street. They're not robots, they're people. They're just a very robotic society that does not know how to interact with people. So I think a lot of these studies were done because they are the best at technology. They are the first that you go to Tokyo, you go to Kyoto, the whole buildings have like screens. You can watch a JK series while it's standing there at the red light. It's flashing all the time in Japan in some of the big cities, not the small ones, but the big ones. So I think that's part of the reason they did those studies is they realized they were falling behind in society. They were not able to interact with, advancements like in the Western world or US or something. They were really falling behind after, and I think that's part of it. But no, there's beautiful studies done in the US, in Europe. I just chose those because I was focusing mostly on 0 to 3, but I'm happy to talk about teenagers.
Yeah, the issue why we don't have this kind of education at all.
You can scream.
Sorry. As we know, like when teenagers reach that level, it's better to hear from a third party than listening to their parents. What's the methods of ways to let them reduce this amount? Because I tried multiple ways. I tried to switch the Wi-Fi at my home at 10 o'clock. It was a nightmare. Our friends, they start telling their kids, I would do the same like Mr. Ray.
Yeah. So it's really setting an example. I have teenagers, and I'm not here to preach to tell you I did it correctly because I didn't. Because, like I said, we're not super people every day. Some days we're better than other days. But the one thing I've always tell my patients. I'm a pediatrician, and I tell all my patients from day one, electronic does not go in the bedroom. I think Nick mentioned it, and Laura, no TV in the bedroom. It's not just no TV, no phones, okay? True. And my kids are, to this day, I have a 19-year-old and a 16-year-old, they're two bigger than me. I usually make them step down so I can yell at them, kind of thing. But, because I'm like, I'm not gonna yell like that. It doesn't work. So, I usually say, they are, to this day, they are on their phones. We're in the living room. All four of us, maybe one of that picture where we're all on our phones, it's our phone time, but we're together. I have an eye on what they're doing. When Joe starts laughing, I'm like, what are you laughing about? I want to make sure and he's like, oh, it's just a show. I'm like, well, share, I want to laugh, versus the kid that maybe, like they're thinking they're talking to a kid, but it's like a pedophile that's 60 years old or something like that, you know, God forbid. So doing it collectively, really saying, the bedroom door is where that I have a table set up next to the bedrooms where we all put our phones there and we leave. It's a basket. And in the morning, and they're all charging there. And then in the morning, when we all wake up, we all go up on our phone. Whoever mentioned that the first thing we do in the morning is check our phones. We all run to the basket to check our phones. The only time I'm allowed a phone in my bedroom is if I'm on call because I'm the physician. But otherwise, I'm like, you ain't Obama. Sorry, that's the president I liked. You know, I can't compare them to someone else. So you know, kind of thing. So, and I'm like, yeah, what is so important? You know, who are you? The day you become Obama, then you can have your phone in your room. That's part of it. The other part is really engaging, starting from, and you didn't miss the boat, starting from today. You can say, we're having dinner. Movie, you know, at home. Movie night, someone mentioned movie night. We did movie night, but what we did with movie night is, I actually used it without them knowing as education. When they were little, I would flip the language to French because that's the language I wanted to teach them, that's my native tongue, kind of thing. And so when Jimmy was 3 and we went to Disney and he met Mary Poppins and she spoke to him in English, at the end he's like, Maman, in French, this is not the real Mary Poppins. She's speaking the wrong language because he thought Mary Poppins spoke French. And we would remove all the furniture and play, the couches were the chimneys, and we were like, chim chimney, you know. We did it all together. We would jump, you know, like they're jumping in the movie, acting out. So as little, but even as teenagers, when we go now to traveling together, teenagers love traveling. They're not allowed to have their phones. I'm like, phone off. I'm paying for this vacation. Look around you. Let's learn. Let's do. I have them do research on the country we're going to, and they're supposed to tell me about, okay, you're in charge of, you know, the first day in Tokyo. You're in charge of the second day in Nara. You know, tell me a little bit about this culture, this city, this stuff. What am I supposed to learn about it? Engaging them, giving them tasks. And I think, you know, as a pediatrician, I know I meet every kid in my office as a teenager. I tell them, I hire people. I'm the boss here. I'm the chief. When I get a CV, I'm going to be the first to tell you, I was a teenager and I've effed up a lot in my life, you know? But the great news, no one knows about it because it's nowhere on social media. The bad news for you, kid, is I will know every single little thing you've done. And when I get a CV and I get a name, I Google that name, I put them on Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, all of those I'm in. And then I'm like, that's a little weird picture of that person applying for a job. Guess what? There's many fishes in the sea. I'm not gonna even interview that person. So your life is on social media. You need to be careful because it's always gonna be there. And that recruiter, that person hiring you for whatever job is gonna say no. I have kids asking me about tattoos and piercings. I'm like, talk to your parents. You guys come up with a decision. I'm not here to tell you yes or no, but I'm here to tell you, you have an armful of tattoos. I may be, when you're coming for a job as a nurse for me or a doctor, I'll be like, I don't know if my parents would want that. So maybe if you want to get one, get it somewhere I don't see it, so that you can actually blend within society better in certain jobs, because society goes like this. And right now tattoos are in, but in 10 years tattoos will be out, kind of thing. So.
Can I have the last question? Do you see this technology or AI has improvement on a human brain? No?
I think it has a lot of detriments. It's kids. I mean, I had to put a stop on my 16-year-old because even we thought we did it correctly. He has he is a composer. So he has to spend, now composing is all on the computer. You know, it gives you all the instruments of an orchestra, so it's automatic. And when we went to Germany and he saw how Bach composed, I'm like, Joe, try to compose like Bach. He's like, yeah, this is too hard. I'm like, and he was doing one composition a day, you know? So no, and when I tried to stop, I'm like, Joe, Habibi, what? I'm like, what are you yelling about? And then I yell back and we yell, and it's a yelling match. And so we have actually said, let's put a stop to the yelling in the house, because he would yell, I would yell louder because I'm the mom, and he'd yell more loud saying, your yelling is not helping. And I'll be like, but I'm the mom, I'm gonna yell more, kind of thing. So we've all done it wrong, and I don't see a positive. Yes, there is a positive opening the world, there is a positive of learning about other things, but I think our role as parents is to actually be there to help them see the world, not the way AI is showing it to them, but like with the understanding of the culture, the touching, the feeling. You will see how are kids getting recruited from, being good Christians to being ISIS, because they don't have that foundation. You guys are building the village, building the community, coming to church every Sunday, not after First Communion, you're done. Your job is never done. Kind of thing. This is what we see in our church, at least. After First Communion, sayonara. No kid comes to church. And the family stop. And I'm like, why? My husband found a way to bring them to church. He made them play the music in the background. He's like, you have a job, You need to, and I'm not preaching for the church. I'm preaching for whatever faith, you have to find something. And now, my oldest, he's in college. No one told him to go to church on Sundays. He plays the piano on the 10 o'clock at the Mass at the 10 o'clock at the, the Newman Center, because they don't have it's a Newman Center. Every university in America has a Newman Center. It was like, really, Jimmy? Why are you doing this? And he's like, well, it was my way to find a community, because we taught him. And I'm not saying we did it correctly, but finding your community, finding your people, finding your village, so they grow together, and like-minded people that are like you, so that my kid is not telling me, well, Julien Ribard has a phone, how come I don't have a phone? Well, Julien Ribard has a phone because he has 2 houses. His dad gave him a phone so he can call him. You're lucky you have 1 house because both parents are together. We don't need a phone. We know how to call you, kind of thing. Explaining it, because the kid is seeing the other kid saying, he has a phone, how come I don't get one? And he's 12. Our kids didn't get phones until 14. That was their Christmas gift. Also teaching them, big gifts, 1 gift a year, not like 100,000 gifts. We don't need 100,000 gifts, we just need 1.
You all did an amazing job explaining the physiological and the psychological impact of technology. My question is, given that a child has already had the damage because the parents were not aware and they have extreme traits of the damage, what can be done in that situation, and how long would it take to repair? Is it repairable at all or to any extent?
I think you're talking, go ahead, you can talk, you can start.
Yeah. So as we said, this happened to us at the beginning. Sometimes you are really frustrated. We have, like Christopher was a picky eater, so sometimes we had to distract him to try new food, and this was a physician recommendation. Let him just taste it, touch it, try it, and then he can eat, because he wasn't eating all day long. So, and as she said, sometimes we do mistakes and we learn from it. Now we decided maybe 2 years ago to limit screen time, and some days it was like no screen time at all. It takes a lot from our energy, from our time. As I said before, he will cry, he will do tantrum. You just have to explain to him, crying won't change anything. But at the same time, you have to buy him maybe a new toy. It shouldn't be expensive, any blocks, anything that you can draw together. We can teach him how to color. We can do a lot of activities together. We can do jokes in the car, as I said before, if we're going on a road trip. Can I watch? I'm bored, I have nothing to do. Next starts, let's do them jokes. If we don't know the jokes, sometimes I use ChatGPT. He won't see me. I read and he will be thinking about what animal I'm letting him guess. So it's gonna take a lot of our energy. I was telling her before, somewhere here in my paper, I have to introduce breath exercising to your kids. And I told her I introduced this to myself so I can really have the patience to sit with him and explain to him. And sometimes it takes me more than 25 minutes talking about the same subject, and he keeps asking the same question. I sit, I go down to his level, and we keep talking for like long time about the same subject. And sometimes you feel, I'm tired, but you have to breathe and you have to keep explaining, you have to keep talking, and introduce him to activities, to new places, come to church, we don't eat in the church, it's a mass time, we have to pray for Jesus, let's pray before we eat, let's pray before we go to bed, let's do a story. And we have every Friday a routine which is a movie night. You're not going to watch all week, but Friday night, it's a movie night. He can choose the movie. We agree on this movie. We know the subject and the content of this movie. We do pizza, popcorn. It takes a lot from the parents' energy, but from my experience, it's 100% you can do it. And you have a thing in your question if this can be, yes, it can, yes. But this is from our experience.
I agree. Yeah. I agree. I think there's certain damages that may not be able to be reversed, and I'll go over them. But it takes, like Laura said, it's us. It's us setting the example. I'm telling my kid, hey, no telephone, but I'm on my phone. It doesn't work, okay? If the kid is 5 or 6 and the damage is done, it's different than if the kid is 14, and it's different if the kid is 19. 4, 5, 6, or 5, 6, 7, 8, you can actually engage in play. You can take them, but it's on you. You have to be there. We would set up like rail tracks around the whole house, and we would be rolling trains, and then we'd set up like soldiers, and like we had different colors, little soldiers, and then we'd have like, my husband who grew up in Lebanon would be like, this is, I don't know what faction against this faction, and I'd be like, it's the French against the Germans, because I grew up in France and Second World War and stuff. We'd set it up as an education, but it's on us. It's more work on us versus, here's your iPad, kid, and here's my phone. So it is more. When they're 14, 15, you may have to do more. You may, setting up, going outside, you can go on a hike for an hour, and then the kid's like, I'm done. Okay, we're good. Can I go back on my phone now? No, we gotta go more. What is the more? More activities, more, in terms of putting them in sports, putting them in a musical instrument, teaching them another language. Kids can be challenged. They don't only have to speak English, kind of thing. Okay, cooking. Actually, my 16-year-old is my chef at home because I do not cook. I put him in cooking lessons during COVID because COVID was the nastiest thing. Every Tuesday, he had 3 hours of a cooking lesson while listening to Sinatra, kind of thing. So that was him. Joe is my cook. He makes soufflés. He makes, charlottes, quiche, anything you want. He takes orders. And and then when you have a 19-year-old in college, you have no control, but you hope you've set it up correctly. We do have Life 360. That is actually something I think I would encourage everybody to have to share, until you know where everybody is. And when Jimmy turned it off, I said, Talahon, I'm not paying for that phone because I need to know where you are. I'm not watching you. Here's the excuse me, Abuna, it's we're at church, but here's the, they're kids, they're teenagers. Here's the box of condoms, just in case. We don't want little Jimmys running around, kind of thing. I'm not telling you to go do it, but I'm telling you be smart about it. And I need to know where you are. I need to know that you went back. The other night, my husband's like, Jimmy got back to the dorms at 2 a.m. I'm like, he's 19. Let's wait, and in the morning, we'll hi, Habibi. Kif kena mbere? What do you do? Ça va? Tout va bien? And then if he opened up, great. If he didn't, over time he'll open up. But you can't. It's a totally different adjustment. Now, the irreversible is when you've caused that virtual autism that now new researchers are talking about. That is much harder to reverse because we're diagnosing them with autism. We're doing through behavioral therapy. So there is bona fide behavioral therapy that, yes, can reverse it. And a lot of kids, when they turn 10, 11, 12, they have it on their chart, that label, but I'm like, you ain't autistic, kid. You know, kind of thing, you'll look better than me. You know, kind of thing. And why did they get that diagnosis initially? They had no, you know, they would throw tantrums. So part of the diagnosis of autism has widened. In the old ages, when I trained, we had pervasive development disorder, we had Asperger, we had autism level 1, 2, 3. Now, everybody's autistic. So the kid that's throwing a tantrum but speaks fine, does fine, is potentially somebody's gonna call him autistic. The kid that basically is not, so the kid that has no discipline in the house, you know, use your inside voice, Beverly. I'm like, okay, yeah. Sometimes they need a little, Habibti, Arad, it's good. You know, they need that a little bit. They need that authority. There is no more authority figure in the new disciplining techniques. And it doesn't work when you don't have authority. You need to learn hierarchy, you know? And so the behavioral therapy helps modify a lot of that part if they are eventually diagnosed. Hope that answers.